Welcome back to the second part of Politics and the Law from Chapter 8. Now we're going to talk about the actual courts in Russia. There's the magistrate court. These people handle mostly criminal cases with offenses of less than 3 years. There's district courts, generally handle crimes that carry a sentence of a little more than 3 years. They also handle the appeals for the magistrate court. Regional court hears complex civil cases and serious criminal offenses. They also handle appeals from lower courts and the decisions from the regional courts. The Supreme Courts generally just supervise the lower courts. Rarely they will hear cases. Usually the cases they do hear are for state interests. They don't have the power to rule on any constitutional issues. Arbitration and commercial court generally just deal with property ownership, contracts, bankruptcies. They operate outside of all the rest of the court, so it's kept completely separate. Finally, the Constitutional Court hears very few actual cases per year. It deals strictly with constitutional law and regional government issues. The court has 15 judges, which all have a lifetime membership, much like our Supreme Court. Law code reform. First, there's a civil code. Reforms have expanded civil rights, devised a legal society that recognizes the rights of religious communities, political parties, charities, labor unions, and business firms. Civil code also formally regulates civil regulations between individuals, organizations, and the state. It also guarantees property rights. The criminal code reduced the number of the capital offenses, differentiated crimes according to the seriousness, emphasized individual rights, and also state interest. It also decriminalized some acts and criminalized other acts, like money laundering would be an example of something that was criminalized. The Code of Criminal Procedure, it increased individual rights. For example, allowed for an attorney to be present when a person was being questioned. But mainly this deals with the change in statutes to prevent intervention by political agents and allows for real progress towards judicial independence. Finally, the international law. In 1996, Russia joined the Council of Europe, whose main focus is democracy and human rights. Under the Council rules, people can report abuses of human rights by their country's law enforcement or judicial system, or even criminal correction system. Russia currently has 33,000 cases pending, or close to it anyway. The Council advised Russia to ratify some of its laws. In turn, many cases of human rights violations are ruled against, the law enforcement body and for the plaintiff. Obstacles to the rules of law. Bureaucratic lawmaking. In Russia today, as in Russia in centuries past, the power of the state's rulers is frequently thawed by tendencies of administrative agencies to issue rules, decrees, regulations, instructions, orders, directives, circular letters, and many other kinds of official binding rules, many of them secret, applying not only to subordinates in the same agencies, but often to government agencies and Russian citizens in general. The profusion of rules and regulations complementing, interpreting, and often contradicting one another creates ample opportunities for evasion as well as incentives for the powerful individuals to cut through the jungle of red tape. Basically, it's making it much easier for bureaucrats to get what they need done, just kind of going around the law or finding their loopholes through the law. Terrorism is another big issue, and national security, because so many of worldwide attacks by Islamic groups. Russia has adopted several policies that restrict civil liberties. Think of our Patriot Act here in the U.S. And like our Patriot Act, it is often abused. Since Russia has been attacked, the example being on page 74 through 77 back in chapter 3, these policies have become necessary. Some terrorists have been involved in hostage situations. Many police, many of the policies seem kind of cruel, but often necessary to protect the greater good. Organized crime is another big one. Hundreds of prominent people have been assassinated on contract kills. The state bureaucracy is highly susceptible to the corruption. Business people purchase protection or obtain short supply items from organized crime. It's estimated, however, that about half of what organized crime earns, it goes back out in the form of bribes, which is kind of a vicious cycle. You go from organized crime to business people to government officials and back around again, and vice versa. Finally, corruption is fed by business interest in escaping rules and organized crime, tax evasions, and have laws passed, or reasons why business people would want to participate in this, or to get out of legal trouble being the biggest culprit of corruption. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much concludes my presentation. I thank you very much for watching both parts, and you will find your discussion prompts on the board. Again, thanks for watching.